Krishna, welcome everyone to the Wednesday evening discussion. We'll start with Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You can sing the Shad Goswami Ashtakam.
Yes, Prabhu, let me just bring it up.
Shad Goswami Ashtakam. This is a song seeking the mercy of the six Goswamis. The six Goswamis are the ones who actually established the Krishna consciousness movement, um, who kind of gave the um, initial foundation for the for the Krishna consciousness movement to spread all over the world. They were specially empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who trained them and who instructed them to as do various services, like somewhere involved in uh, establishing the holy places, re-establishing the holy places, and writing books, writing literatures, which we are very fortunate that we have those with us. So we pray for their mercy. This song is just a pray, means to glorify their qualities and their and beg for their mercy. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro Premamritabdo Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priya Priya Karo Nirmataro Pujito Shri Chaitanya Kripa Bhara Bhuvi Bhuvo भारावहन्तारकौ वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ नानाशास्त्रविचारणैकनिपुणौ सद्धर्मसंस्थापकौ लोकानां हितकारिणो त्रिभुवने मान्यौ शरण्यकरौ राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्द भजना नन्देन मत्तालिकौ वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ श्रीगौराङ्गगुणानुवर्णनविधौ श्रद्धा समृद्धान्वितौ पापोतापनिक्रन्तनौ तनुभृतं गोविन्दगानामृतैः आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनैकनिपुणौ कैवल्यनिस्तारकौ वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ त्वक्त्वा तूर्णमशेषमण्डलपति श्रेणिं सदा तुच्छवान् भूत्वा दीनगणेश करुणया कौपीनकण्ठाश्रितौ गोपीभावरसामृताब्धिलहरी कालोलमग्नौ मुहुः वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ पूजत्कोकिलहं दसारसगणा कीने मयूराकुले नानारत्ननिबद्धमूलवितपा श्रीयुक्तवृन्दावने राधा कृष्ण राधा कृष्ण महर्निशा प्रभजतौ जीवार्तदौ यौमुधा वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ पूजत् साङ्ख्यपूर्वकनामगाननतिभिः कालावसानीकृतौ निद्राहारविहारकादिविजितौ चात्यन्तदीनौ च यौ राधा कृष्ण गुणस्मृतेर्मधुरिमा नन्देन सम्मोहितौ वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ राधा कुन्दतटे कलिन्दतनया तीरे च वंशीवते प्रेमोन्मादवसादशेषदशया गस्तौ प्रमातौ सदा गायन्तौ च कदा हरेर्गुणवरम् भावाभिभूतौ मुधा वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगम् श्रीजीवगोपालकौ हे राधे व्रज देवी के चललिते हे नंद सुनो पुकार श्री गोवर्धन कल्पपाद पतले कालिंदी कुटार घोषन्तव्यति सर्वतो व्रजपुरे केधेर्महावीवलो वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगम् श्रीजीवगोपालकौ वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगम् श्रीजीवगोपालकौ श्री सद्गोस्वामी अष्टकम की जय. So we can choose that. 1 second. Then just a second. Yeah. So we'll read from the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, text number 8.
10th chapter.
I'll read the verse and then we can. 1 second. Yeah, then we can look at the translation and the purpose, and then we can go from there. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam budha bhava samanvita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam budha bhava samanvita. Synonyms: aham, I, sarvasya, of all, prabhava, the source of generation, matta, from me, sarvam, everything, pravartate, emanates, iti, thus, matva, knowing, bhajante, become devoted, mam, unto me, buddha, the learned, bhava samanvita, with great attention. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this, who perfectly know this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Purport. A learned scholar who studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidhadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedamscha Gapayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again the Narayan Upanishad says, Atho Purusho hi Havai Narayano Akamayata Prajaha Shrejati. Then the Supreme Personality Narayan desired to create living entities. The Upanishads continues Narayanat Brahma Jayate, Narayanat Prajapati Prajayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Astu Vasavo Jayate, Narayanad Ekadasha Rudra Jayate, Jayante, Narayanad Dvadashaditya. From Narayan, Brahma is born, and from Narayan, the patriarch are also born. From Narayan, Indra is born. From Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putra, the son of Devaki Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana asina Brahman naishano napo nagni samo neme dvai aprithiva na nakshantrani na surya. In the beginning of creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven, and no earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. In the Mahapanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Krishna also says, I'll just read the translation from here. The patriarchs, Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayan is the supreme personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, Because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide master with references from Vedic literatures engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. We'll recite the Mangalacharan.
Yes, Prabhu, let me just bring it.
Sorry?
You want me to bring up the
Yeah,
Mangalacharan?
yes, Prabhu.
Um,
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhuvayeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nitai Name Nite Namer Hatta Shraddhamule Nam Dite Chire Nitai Name Niche Namer Hatta Shraddhamule Nam Dite Chire Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Just a second. So the verse that we are reading from today is one of the Chaturshloki verses of the Bhagavad Gita. It's actually, it's considered as one of the most vital verses in the Bhagavad Gita, the four verses, the 10.9, 10, 11, and 12. So this verse, yes, oh sorry, text 10 from 8, 9, 10, and 11, my bad. So in this verse, Krishna is saying that, Krishna is saying that I am the source of all the material and the spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this seems that Krishna is, boasting too much about himself here by saying that, he's a source. If someone comes and says, I'm so and so, we think, why is Krishna so proud, Why does he have to boast so much about himself? I mean, Krishna can be some little bit humble, right? Now, let's say, for example, if I go, why does he have to say that, no, I am the source of everyone? I am superior to Brahma, I am superior to Shiva. I mean, if you see in the purport, Prabhupada quotes different verses saying that Krishna is superior to so and so. Now, let's say if I go to President Joe Biden, and if I say, who are you? And if he says, so I'm the President of the United States. And if he says, and if I say, no, come on, you can be a little humble, You don't have to be so proud about yourself. You can just be a little humble. I mean, he's not saying something which he is not. He's saying what he is. He's saying that because he's the president of the United States, he's saying that he is a president. Same way, when Krishna is proclaiming himself that he is the source of everything, that all the material and spiritual worlds come from him. Basically, he's saying that he's a supreme Lord. Krishna is not trying to boast about himself, he's just stating the facts. And if we see in Bhagavad Gita, I mean, Krishna is actually really being humble here. If you see how many verses in the Bhagavad Gita where he is actually trying to say, apart from the 10th chapter, where he says that he is the source of uh, all the material and spiritual worlds, and then in this chapter, Krishna is kind of describing his own opulences, like what he is actually. Apart from this one chapter, Krishna nowhere in the Bhagavad Gita proclaims himself about so much. He just beats very humble. Just always trying to tell the principles and trying to explain what is what, but he doesn't try to proclaim himself. And then in the 11th chapter, Krishna showed the universal form, and that is it. Out of the 700 verses, Krishna must have spoken in the 10th chapter and then the 11th chapter about his own in a way, proclaiming of glorifying himself in a way. But all other chapters, Krishna is just speaking the essential truth that is required. Now, in a way, if you see out of 700, just speaking this much about himself, if he was really proud, he would have proclaimed himself many places. But Krishna doesn't say that. But his devotees, they know that Krishna is actually humble. He doesn't want to glorify himself so much. So then that's why the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is glorified by his devotees. There is so much that when Narad Muni, he actually starts, when Vyasadev, the very reason Bhagavatam was spoken was because Vyasadev was dissatisfied. And why was he dissatisfied? Because he didn't glorify Krishna sufficiently. Narada pointed out that. And then when Narada pointed out that, Vyasadeva wrote the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, just exclusively glorifying Krishna. Vyasadeva had previously also glorified Krishna in various ways, but it was in a very, just like sporadically. It was not so essentially in every place, not in all the Vedas and Puranas. It was not exclusive glorification. And because of which he was very dissatisfied. And when his dissatisfaction became eminent, he was contemplating. Narad Muni approached. Narad Muni came to Vyasadev, and there Vyasadev, he expresses his dissatisfaction to Narad Muni, saying, how can I, why I'm so feeling so dissatisfied? Narad Muni pointed out that, because you have not sufficiently glorified Lord Krishna directly. And that's where the emergence of Srimad Bhagavatam came. Bhagavad Gita is just 700 verses, and Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses. When the devotees want to glorify Krishna, they glorify in such expounded ways that it goes to 18,000 verses. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that if we were to glorify Krishna, we could actually print a newspaper at every moment in the describing the news of the spiritual world, describing about Krishna. There's so much that can be glorified about Krishna in that sense. And then in this verse, Krishna is actually saying that he is actually the one from whom the spiritual and the material world is generated in a way, that he is a source. In the material world, if you look at the entire creation of Krishna, this material world is just 1/4 of the creation, 1/4 of the entire creation of what we see, and the remaining 3/4 is as a spiritual world. And now one may see that how can we see Krishna? And if you see in the last paragraph, where Krishna is actually telling that he's saying that he is the most efficient cause of everything. Yeah. Prabhupada is saying actually. So understanding Krishna means understanding that Krishna is the source of the material and the spiritual worlds, and developing a vision to see Krishna in everything and everyone. So when we say that if Krishna is the source of the material world, then it means that he is the source of everything that exists in this material world. So, and that's the reason we see 10th chapter is actually a chapter where we can, which can help us to see Krishna in everywhere. Prabhupada once very famously said, once he said that if you want to, whenever Prabhupada used to take water and used to drink, many times he would say, Rasoham apsu kaunteya. So, who is giving the taste of water? The taste of water is actually coming from Krishna. Krishna is the one who is actually giving the taste of water. If Krishna is giving the taste of water, and Prabhupada famously said that, uh, Prabhupada famously said that if if you can if you can remember Krishna while drinking water, then you are actually becoming Krishna conscious. And then he said, what to speak of any normal person? If someone who is drinking liquor, and if he remembers that this taste of wine is actually Krishna, is coming from Krishna, then he also becomes purified and he is also becomes Krishna conscious. So why remembering Krishna is emphasized so much? Why is it said that by remembering Krishna? Because by remembrance of Krishna, one gets purified, whether one is pure or impure. Uh, what is that verse? It says, um, what is it? Anyways, as essentially the point is that whether one is pure or impure, if one remembers Krishna, Govinda, then one becomes purified within and without. This is a famous verse that we actually recite before the initiation ceremony or any yagya ceremony. Now, if you were to see that how
Right.
what is the reason why we are actually not able to see Krishna everywhere? Why is it that we have difficulty in trying to understand Krishna, that Krishna exists in different things in this creation? That's because we are actually so much bogged down by our own mental concoctions and our own mental ideas of what exactly this material creation is. There's lack of knowledge. That's why when we begin this, we begin the when we began the Mangalachara and we say Om Ajnana Timirandhasya. And what does that mean? It means Om Ajnana. See, when we are walking, when we are walking, and if there is no light, then what is the immediate thing that happens? Thank you, Prabhu. Ashramada Prabhu. So the verse that is there is Om Pavitra Pavitro Va Sarvavastam Gatopi Va Yasmare Kundari Kaksha Sabhayantar Asuchi. So the sorry, the yeah. So the point I was trying to make is when one is walking, and while walking, if there is no light, we are afraid actually, we are fearful. When we are fearful, why is there fear? Fear is because fear is because of the unknown. Fear is because we can't see things in as they are. So same way, that's why there is a fear actually when we're walking in darkness. But when there is light, we know where is what, and we see everything in its perspective. So why there is fear? Fear exists because of the fear of unknown. And then Bhagavatam actually explains what is the root cause of fear. Um, just a second. Yeah. The root cause of fear comes from Bhayam Dvitiya Bhinayeshitasya. This is from 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 37th verse. Let me, one second. So in this verse, Bhayam Dvitiya Bhinayeshi Tasyat, it says that ईशादपे तस्य विपर्ययो स्मृति तन्माय यतो बूध अभेजेत तं भक्त्याैकयेशं गुरुदेवतात्मा bhayam dvitiya. Why there is fear? Fear happens when there is a when we are absorbed in a reality, which is when we are absorbed in a secondary reality separate from Krishna. And because when we, and why is that happens? Because we have turned away. The Vedas say, tamasoma jyotirgamaya. Meaning that because we have turned away from darkness, that's why there is fear. And because we have turned away from Krishna, that's why there is fear. And turning away from Krishna means what? Having a reality, believing in a reality separate from Krishna, meaning that we are not able to see things in relationship with Krishna. So that's the reason why there is fear actually. And that is actually Maya. So we can see if we see the translation, it says here, fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. So, so the idea is simple. The idea is that if we want to if we want to see Krishna, like Krishna in this verse, he mentions that I am the source of everything. That, but can we see Krishna as the source of material world? At least that which is present in front of our eyes? No, we may not be able to see it. For that, that happens because of fear. And fear arises because of what? Because we are absorbed in a reality, in a secondary reality, not in the actual reality. And the actual real thing is Krishna. That's actually what the Bhagavatam also emphasizes. And yes, so if you see, Srila Prabhupada was always very Krishna conscious. He was able to see Krishna in everything. When once, Srila Prabhupada was going in a flight, he was at the airport, and there was a very beautiful, I think he was in the flight, and then there was there was disciples of Prabhupada who were sitting next to him. And then Srila Prabhupada says, the hair hostess who was walking, she was very beautiful. And the servant was a little confused, if because Prabhupada is next to him, and if he says anything, he was a little afraid what will Prabhupada say, he was a little embarrassed. And then Prabhupada turned to Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada turned to the disciple, and he said, isn't she beautiful? And when the servant heard that, he didn't know what to respond. If he says, yes, Prabhupada, she is beautiful, then he didn't know what, if he says that, or if he should just keep quiet. So eventually he didn't say anything. Then Prabhupada said, Prabhupada made a very brilliant comment. He said, if she is beautiful, then imagine how beautiful the Creator must be. So Prabhupada was actually able to see Krishna in everything. Even when he was seeing some beautiful women. And then there was another one. Once there was another instance where Prabhupada was seeing once Prabhupada was walking, and there's some person showed him there was some friend, some person. He was in France. So that person showed him a photo of a naked woman bathing. And when Prabhupada was seeing that, rather than Prabhupada saying disgusting and all that, Prabhupada said, nicely done. And then while everyone was little, all the disciples, they were very, they were a little shocked actually about what Prabhupada is saying. And then while everyone was thinking, why is Prabhupada is saying that way, Prabhupada later says that he is actually appreciating the artist who is getting the ability from Krishna himself. So Prabhupada was able to see Krishna uh, even in the ability that was given in the painter actually. While everyone who was seeing the painting, they were seeing considering it as Maya, but Prabhupada was actually able to see that as the ability that is given by Krishna to him. And then Prabhupada said that, once another time, Prabhupada was actually traveling all across the world, and he was, defeating scientists left and right. And once after one of the programs, Prabhupada was had a heavy argument, and Prabhupada was very heavy, and then Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, how do you have so much courage to challenge these scientists? Prabhupada was asked actually, how do you have so much courage? This telling that, what you are declaring, the theory, what you are explaining is all bogus. This that Krishna is actually this. Everyone had the scientists had the idea that matter comes from matter, that there is no supreme God, and Prabhupada was defeating it left and right by giving very sound arguments. So then disciples asked, Prabhupada, how do you have so much courage to challenge these scientists? And Prabhupada said, this was such an amazing answer Prabhupada gave. Prabhupada said, how can I believe them? How can I believe what they are saying when they say that Krishna doesn't exist? When I see him when I see him every day, how can I say that? How can I believe them? How can I keep quiet in that sense? So just like if I were told that so and so person doesn't exist, but I know he exists, he's my very good friend, or I see him everywhere, or I'm seeing him every day, and if someone says he's not there, just come on, you can't say that. He exists, I can see him. And then the same way actually Srila Prabhupada, just like we see Srila Prabhupada is seeing Krishna everywhere, because his eyes were anointed with prema. Premanjuna Charita Bhakti Vilochanayana. Premanjana. His eyes were anointed with the love. So once see Prabhupada, because Prabhupada had so much of love for Krishna, that's why he was able to see Krishna everywhere. But it was not just a sentimental thing. Prabhupada had the faith. Um, Prabhupada, Prabhupada had the faith, and he was a pure devotee, so he had it. So just in the same way, Prahlad Maharaj, when Prahlad Maharaj, his father threw him in a, his father was, when Prahlad, so just the story is of Prahlad Maharaj, if we see, when Hiranyakashipu's brother Hiranyaksha was killed by Varahadev, by Varahadev, Hiranyakashipu decided, I'm going to kill Vishnu. So for that, what does he do? Hiranyakashipu, for that, the Lord, for that the Hiranyakashipu, he performed extreme austerities to serve, to get the benediction and from Lord Brahma. And when Lord Brahma comes so in front of him, he asks him, please give me he literally wanted a complete life insurance. He wanted a life insurance policy that will protect him in every way. He realized that I should not die when I am in the water, in land, and by any weapon, by humans, by animals, everything. He thought he covered it all. And then later, once the benediction, he received the benediction. And during the same time, the demigods, they were afraid that the wife of Hiranyakashipu, Kayadu, she was pregnant, and they thought if this demon is such a going to create massive, if he is going to make such a mess, then whoever is in the womb, he'll be another demon. So they don't thought they will kill him. But then Narad Muni comes and he tells the demigods that no, inside the womb of this woman is actually a very saintly son named Prahlad Maharaj. And later, once when they get to know about that, they leave him. And then for during that time, Hiranyakashipu was performing his austerities in the and then during that time, Kayadu was in the ashram with Narad Muni. And that's where Narad Muni, he every day he used to speak Hari Katha. And he was speaking to Kayadu, but actually his goal was to speak to the child in the womb, who was none other than Prahlad Maharaj. And when Prahlad Maharaj was born, he was a very natural devotee. He had very natural inclination devotion towards Lord Vishnu. And later, there's a sub story goes, Lord Hiranyakashipu conquers everyone in the entire three worlds. Everyone he's conquering, everyone is under his subjugation. So much so that it said that Indra, Varuna, everyone were like, they had to flee and run away from their lives. And later, but Prahlad Maharaj, he comes, and he goes to school, and then he was sent to the school of Shanda Amarka, where he was taught science, maths, and politics on how to cheat others and everything. And then later on, Prahlad Maharaj was brought to the assembly of his father, and he was asked, "So, what did you learn?" And what did he say? He said, "We have to worship Krishna. You have to remember Krishna. You should go to forest and remember Krishna." And and Hiranyakashipu was so mad. He called two teachers, Shanda and Amarka, and he calls them and he tells, what are you teaching him? He's telling me about to remember Vishnu or Krishna. He's telling me about my enemy actually. I mean, that requires a lot of fearlessness. I mean, Prahlad Maharaj could have done so many things. He could have kept quiet and just performed his bhakti silently. Why does he have to again unnecessarily? He didn't have to unnecessarily go and provoke his father by instigating and knowing that his father would get angry at him. But still, Prahlad Maharaj did it because he actually loved his father. He was his well wisher. And then they again took him back to the school and they told him, make sure you teach him nicely. And then again, next time, Shanda and Amarka, they teach him nicely, they teach him everything. And then they again bring him for the second time in the presence of their father. At that time, uh, he was again asked, what did you learn? He says again that the goal of life is to remember Krishna, you have to serve him. He says on a similar lines context. And then when he speaks in this way, Hiranyakashipu becomes so disturbed. And then he says that he commands his soldier that he should be killed. And he's not worthy of living. He's not my son in a way. So then he kind of, they torture him in different ways. He was thrown in the pit of snakes. He was thrown into fire. He was thrown into, he was given poison to drink. But all the time, all this while, Prahlad Maharaj was never scared, neither afraid, nor he was, nor he gave up his devotion to Krishna. He was always undisturbed. It was actually Hiranyakashipu who was getting more and more disturbed actually. So later on, when the whole thing happened, Prahlad Maharaj, he was asked actually, when Narsingadev came, he protected Hiranyakashipu. Actually, this is very interesting. When Narsingadev appeared, from the pillar, when Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj, where is your Lord? Is he everywhere? Prahlad Maharaj said, yes, I mean, my Lord, he's everywhere. And then Nrsingadev, then he was asked, is he in that pillar, particular, pointing to a particular pillar? And then Prahlad Maharaj was very confident. He said, yes, he's in that pillar too. So Prahlad Maharaj had the vision to see Krishna everywhere. He knew that Krishna exists he was there. Krishna is everywhere. Nrsingadev appeared out of the pillar to prove the words of his devotee Prahlad Maharaj, than to kill Hiranyakashipu. He wanted to prove that he exists. He could have come from everywhere, he could have just come from the door. But because Prahlad Maharaj told that he is everywhere and he pointed exactly to that pillar, Lord Nrsingadev appeared from the pillar. And later on, when Nrsingadev killed Hiranyakashipu, following all the conditions of life insurance, still life expectancy is 100, still death rate is 100%. Lord Prahlad Maharaj was asked, Prahlad, when you were giving poison, how come you were not so afraid? I mean, when he was given poison to take, how come you are not afraid? How come you are not fearful? Then Prahlad Maharaj says that, why I have to be afraid? He said, you see, when demigods and demons were churning the milk ocean, what happened? Poison and Lakshmi both came out, right? And if poison and who is Lakshmi? Lakshmi is the consort of my Lord. She is my mother. And so who is poison in that relation? Poison is my maternal uncle. Why will my maternal uncle want to harm me? Prahlad Maharaj says that. And then he says, okay, no problem. What about this? When Prahlad Maharaj, you were put into fire, fire, you were thrown into fire. How come you were able to, you were not afraid that time? He said, fire? He said, fire is the mouth of Lord Vishnu. If you enter your father's mouth, will you be fearful? That was Prahlad Maharaj's response. He says, okay, what about snakes? You are thrown in a pit of snakes, Prahlad. And Prahlad says, see, my father is resting on Antashesh, who is a master of all the snakes. Why is it there need for me to be afraid of anything in there? It's like my father rests on it. Why will the snakes harm me? Because Prahlad had so much of faith. So because Prahlad was able to see Krishna everywhere, he was fearless. He was not afraid of anything actually. On the other hand, we see that Hiranyakashipu was afraid actually. Hiranyakashipu was afraid because he was absorbed in his own secondary reality because he was turned away from Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada always said that if we want that if Srila Prabhupada, how do I put it? Srila Prabhupada says that if we want to make a shift from where, many times we have an understanding that, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that Krishna exists everywhere as a philosophically. But Prabhupada says, or in a way, let's say that Srimad Bhagavatam points out that we have to make a shift from where Krishna is not just a philosophical concept, but is actually a living reality. See, our philosophy of Krishna consciousness, is not just meant to have faith in Krishna philosophically, but it is actually meant to empower us to perceive the presence of the Lord in our life every moment. That's actually the goal of Krishna consciousness. The goal of Krishna consciousness is not to just be philosophically understand that, okay, Krishna exists, Krishna is the source of the material world and spiritual worlds. But how can it be relevant to me in my day-to-day life? How am I able to perceive the Krishna, the presence of Krishna in my life, day-to-day life? Once one devotee was giving a Bhagavatam class, one very senior devotee, and he was asked, you're telling so much about Krishna existing here and there. Have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? I mean, the devotee, everyone was in the audience was thinking, what will be that was in a very little challenging way. That question was asked, and that devotee he answered saying that, um, no, I have not seen Krishna's face, but I have seen Krishna's hand in my life at many times, in many moments, every day in different activities of how he's actually coming and acting in his amazing ways and trying to make various arrangements. So, so if we want to understand, if we want to, like we talked about how fear actually is because we are absorbed in secondary reality. We are absorbed in a reality which is separate from Krishna. That's the reason there is fear. And because of that fear, we are not able to perceive Krishna in everywhere. So, if we want to overcome fear, what do we need to do? Srila Prabhupada asked the same thing. Prabhupada said, if you want to overcome fear, just become Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna conscious is so simple that you may just miss it. So see, fearlessness comes by seeing Krishna in front of you. There are two ways in which one can be fearless. One is that we see the presence of Krishna. Fearlessness comes by the presence of the Lord, when we are in the Lord's presence. And the second way that one can be fearless is by acting fearlessly invokes the presence of the Lord. If we act in a fearless way, Krishna will be forced to come to present himself in front of the devotee. Shyam Sundar Prabhu, one of the very senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada, he would say that in the earlier days, Srila Prabhupada very much encouraged his disciples to take risk for Krishna. He said, if you take risk for Krishna, Krishna will be forced to come to help you. And they said that we tried that to the maximum. We just tried that to the maximum. So the point here I'm trying to make is that if we want to become fearless, if we want to see Krishna everywhere, if we want to feel the presence of the Lord, if we want to actually dynamically experience the presence of Krishna consciousness, presence of Krishna in our life in every moment, he says we have to take risk to serve the Lord. When one takes risk, then one can perceive the presence of the Lord, or the Lord will be forced to appear, forced to come in front of us, or come in front of us. He will be forced to appear in our life. His presence will be invoked, actually, just like it was mentioned. So, so, like it's talking. So Satyam Vibhatam Nijabritya Bhashitam. Supreme Lord comes to make the word of his devotee true. And we see that in the presence of, like I mentioned before, like we saw that in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, where Lord came because Prahlad Maharaj said with so much genuineness, the Lord had to appear from the pillar. So when the devotee makes the fearless endeavor to preach or to share Krishna consciousness, to serve the Lord, that actually accelerates, that forces the Lord to appear in front of the devotee. That forces the Lord to come appear in front of the devotee. We can see in this Sankirtan movement, like when devotees of Lord Chaitanya, when they've served the Lord, taking risk for the Lord, the amazing things happen. We can see that in the present generation, also during the Lord Chaitanya's time and Srila Prabhupada's time, there's so many amazing stories that we hear of how when devotees took risks for Krishna, Krishna actually made his presence felt by appearing in front of the devotee. by making sure that he appears there. He is there to protect them. And the most amazing way one can rise from the or grow in one's Krishna consciousness or advance in spiritual life is actually when one takes risks, is when one takes some extra, goes out of the comfort zone to serve the Lord, to please the Lord. You see, there is a comfort zone, uh, there is the stretch zone, and then there is the panic zone. So, comfort zone is a zone where one is in one's own comfortable situation. Everything is very comfortable. What we want to do, what I want to do, it's very comfortable. And the risk zone or the panic zone is a zone where it's actually one is stretched out, completely. One is almost on the brink of jumping out of the boat. And the middle layer, which is nothing but the pan, or the, what do you call it, the middle zone is actually called as uh, the stretch zone. In the stretch zone is where, when one actually lives his life in stretch zone, meaning that one does much little more than what one can do in one's practice, in one's service. That's where one actually gets to get the grace of the Lord. One actually accesses the higher mercy, higher grace in that zone, in stretch zone. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada has very kindly given us the amazing formula of being in stretch zone by participating in the Sankirtan movement, in uh, by taking in Krishna consciousness, and by giving out. So it's like a rhythm of life. We take in and we give out. Like we breathe in and we breathe out. We just can't. If we just keep breathing in, and if I don't breathe out, I will not be able to survive. And rather, if I just breathe out and don't breathe in, it will be very difficult. So I need both breathing in and breathing out. So both of these things are important. Um, so just to, I mean, so we're talking about seeing Krishna everywhere and in everything. I'll pause here and see if there is any comments or any thing. Then we can continue from there.
Hare Krishna, Asa Madhav Prabhu.
Hare
Sorry,
Krishna.
Madhav Govind Prabhu. Prabhu, there are two comments. I think one of them on the YouTube, one of them you touched upon, but I will still read it to you. This came from Roma Prabhu. So first comment is, sometimes we have knowledge, but we are far from realization, and guidance from self-realized person is more important in that case. So I think you touched upon that. You are saying it is not just philosophy, but we have to really realize, right?
Right, right.
We have to see Krishna everywhere. We have to feel it. It is
Yes.
not just
So,
a theoretical thing. Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Roma Prabhu. Or what's his Prabhu's initiated name?
Don't
I
remember.
don't recollect. He's from Toronto.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So, yes, knowing Krishna, seeing Krishna everywhere, like we do it under the guidance of senior devotees. So, devotional service, or like Vaisheshika Prabhu says, that Vaishnavism is actually Vaishnavism means guidance, means living under the guidance and shelter of devotees and practicing bhakti under their shelter. That's actually Vaishnavism. So yes, we practice under the shelter of devotees. So the verse that we were looking at, Bhayam Vitiya Bhinayeshitasya. There it said that one can actually only come out of that fear only when we actually can, or we can come out of that duality of seeing secondary of seeing not seeing Krishna of illusion is only by actually devotional service under the guidance of a devotee, under the guidance of a devotee, by practicing under the guidance of a devotee. And yes, in order to do that, I mean, we practice devotional service and we perform service to Sankirtan movement. And that service to Sankirtan movement is also under the guidance. So, yes, Prabhu, we need the guidance of the Vaishnavas and devotees. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, Ashrama, Prabhu. Sorry.
Prabhu, so his initiated name is actually Radhika Rasika Prabhu.
Radhika Rasika, right?
Yeah, Radhika Rasika Prabhu.
Yes.
So Radhika Rasika Prabhu has another comment there.
Uh-huh.
Fear also appears from bodily perception of life, as we are scared to lose this body, which is the source of sense gratification.
Hmm. Yes, that's very much true. Fear comes because we're absorbed in a reality apart from Krishna. And like you mentioned, that's very nicely that we are very afraid that we lose this body. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Anything else is there, Prabhu? Anyone else?
So those are the comments. Let me check Facebook again, and yeah, we don't have any. Those are the only comments we have.
Okay, sure, Prabhu.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So, just in a simple way, uh, I just wanted to share. Like we're talking about seeing Krishna everywhere. There are. We can start by seeing Krishna. Or let me actually, unless we develop the face to we unless we have the face to face interaction with the Lord, um, till the time at least we need to find some different means of seeing Krishna everywhere. The one of the most easiest way to see Krishna is in the temple deity, right? So the deity of Krishna is actually non-different from Krishna. Deity is Krishna actually. It's non-different from Krishna himself, and that's one of the most easiest way for us to see Krishna, or to understand, or to uh, develop a sense of relationship when we offer service to the deity, when we worship the deity. We actually are able to develop a relationship with Krishna in that way. And although the deity is made of material objects, although the deity is made of material things, it's made of stone, it's made of wood, although it's made of those things, but they are because they're directly engaged, those or the those substances which are there, although they are material, because they are engaged for or how do I say it, um, or because those deities, or those things which are there, because they are engaged as vehicles of worship, according to the prescription by the Lord, prescribed in the authorized Vedas, one can one can find the presence of Krishna in those things, um, in the form of deity. So Prabhupada, in the among the 64 items of devotional service, one of them is deity worship. Among the five most prominent items, one of them is the deity worship, worshipping the deity as a act of devotional service, by engaging in devotional service. So that's the way. Another way is actually to this is one way of seeing Krishna everywhere, is by looking at the temple deity. Another way is actually to see Krishna is by uh, seeing individual beings and understanding Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, so many places he says that aham, he says sarvasya chaham ridisanvanishto matta smritir jnanam apohan. No, not sarvasya chaham. What is that verse? that uh, he's present as a super soul in the heart of all living beings. I mean, yeah, that's the correct verse. Sarvasya chaham riddhisanvanishto. He's present in the heart of every living being, and from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And when we can actually interact with him uh, in this way, actually, knowing that Krishna is actually the one who is actually giving himself, giving him himself through us in this way, through the super soul. And the third way we can see is through the material nature. While we can say that Krishna is the source of all the whole universe, he is simultaneously present within it. You know, he is in the light of the sun. He is there as the taste of the water, the sound of the ether, like we've discussed before. Indeed, I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is declaring that all that we see wonderful and beautiful in this world is all actually coming from Krishna himself. And then we can see that Krishna can also be, there's just a summer. Krishna can, like we discussed before, like how when one devotee was asked about, how can I see, how have you ever seen Lord face to face? I mean, that's a very daring question to ask and a daring answer to give. And then the devotee said, but yeah, by seeing the Lord's face to face, by not by seeing the Lord, by I have not seen the Lord's face, but I have seen his hand in my life in many, many things. So we can also understand we can also feel the presence of Krishna by the events that happen in life. By seeing the events, we can perceive Krishna's hand actually. By fine tuning our consciousness, we can understand the presence of we can experience the presence of the Lord in the dynamic ways in which the Lord intervenes in our lives, and he crafts a very beautiful different arrangement that he makes in our life. So yes, we can perceive Krishna in many of these ways, and ultimately all these ways, uh, they are, the one can actually um, um, develop, or one can use all these means, but the most primary and essential means that actually overlies or becomes the foundation for all these things is when one is actually hearing about Krishna. Just like if I, Rukmini, how did Rukmini, if you see the pastime of Rukmini Krishna, when Rukmini was, it said that she wrote a love letter to Krishna, the first ever love letter written. I mean, many, but this is the most amazing love letter, which is read by the greatest of the sages, because it appears in the pages of the Bhagavatam. And there, Rukmini actually is declaring himself to Krishna. She's surrendering herself to Krishna, and she says in one of the prayers, she says that, I'm, I never. She actually, I as the only reason why. I mean, she's writing. Can you imagine writing a love letter to someone without even seeing someone? Just by hearing about him, someone can you write a love letter? I mean, that's pretty far out actually. She just actually heard about him. Rukmini, she just heard about Krishna from the great sages who would come to the palace, from the sages as Narad Muni, from different sages who came to the palace and who glorified Krishna, who told about Krishna. And just by hearing about Krishna, Rukmini developed so much attachment to Krishna that she decided that she is only going to marry Krishna and no one else. So, for that kind of love to be there, for that kind of determination, for that kind of attachment to happen, just by hearing about Krishna is amazing. So, it's actually applicable for each one of us, actually. The process of bhakti begins with hearing, actually. So, when we hear about Krishna with faith, with submission, with in the association of devotees, and hear from a great sadhus, great souls, then what happens is we actually develop, because right now we're in a forgetful state of remembrance of our relationship with him, we develop a relationship, we start developing, we start remembering our, by the words of the Bhagavad, by hearing about Krishna, we get, our mind and heart becomes purified, and we realize our eternal identity or the reality which is in relationship to Krishna. So that happens by hearing about him. So the when Rukmini is hearing about Krishna from Narada, and when later she meets Krishna face to face afterwards, it is said that the living entity also can develop the same relationship with Krishna by hearing about him. When we hear about Krishna from the spiritual master, and we serve the instruction of spiritual master, at that time we also develop a relationship with him. We can develop a relationship, we can also have the same kind of attachment, that we only want Krishna in our life and no one else. And when that kind of eagerness and enthusiasm, and when that kind of hunger that arises for Krishna, that's actually the time when one can actually develop the relationship with him, when one can see Krishna in those in in our life, in every moment. Just like Srila Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, how can I see Krishna everywhere? Srila Prabhupada said, do you love me? He said, yes, Prabhupada, we love you. And if you see, Srila Prabhupada pointed to his glasses, spectacle glasses, which was kept on the table. And he said, if you see these glasses, what will you think? Then the disciple said, oh, when I see this glasses, I remember, oh, this is Srila Prabhupada's glasses. And then Srila Prabhupada said, so just like you, by seeing these glasses, you remember that, oh, this is your spiritual master's glasses, so Srila Prabhupada's glasses. Same way, by seeing the external manifestations within which we can see in this material world, by seeing the external manifestations, by seeing the beautiful creation, you can imagine how beautiful the creator must be, who has actually created this amazing universe, this um, amazing place actually. So, so we have the wonderful opportunity, by grace of Srila Prabhupada, to see Krishna everywhere by following his instructions, actually, by serving his instructions, by practicing devotional service, by taking some risk for Krishna, actually. And when we do that, then we are uh, advancing, and we'll actually see Krishna face to face. If we can see Krishna everywhere in our life, in all the different events, activities that happen, then we can see Krishna uh, actually in a face to face when we leave this world. And we should know that whatever fear that is there, uh, whatever fear that we see in this world, uh, there is actually the greatest opportunity to there's a greatest opportunity actually. There's I mean, what I meant to say is that within the greatest fear, there's a greatest opportunity to become Krishna conscious, to to become fearless and to take shelter of the Lord in that way. And we should know that every difficult thing that comes, or every fearful that is there, pregnant within every fear, is the greatest opportunity for spiritual realization. We can see that in the pages of the Bhagavatam, that that none of the amazing things that we see or hear in the Bhagavatam has not come from something that happened that was very good that was going on. It was always through some crisis that something amazing always came out. And the reason why it came out is because they maintained their integrity and they maintained their values in keeping Krishna, in trying to uh, take shelter of the Lord, in trying to not deviate from the practice of spiritual life. So we should know that in Krishna consciousness, it is not that uh, it could go right, but actually it will go right. Why? Because Nama Bhakta Pranashati. Krishna will always protect his devotees. So it's just a matter of our own sincerity and seriousness to practice bhakti, to maintain our integrity in all the different situations and situations which come in life. And that's where we can grow in our bhakti. So I will stop here. I know we still have 7, 8 minutes. I will open it up for any questions or comments or realizations or corrections. And if there's anything I can improve on, happy to take any. Nice to see you, Radhika Rasika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, nice to see you. I have one question for you. How is important for us to actually build a relationship with our Paramatma? Because I think in order to see Krishna in everyone and everywhere, we have to establish some sort of relationship with Paramatma in our heart. I mean, this is definitely part of self realization, but I just want to hear your opinion on that.
Yes, like we mentioned, we mentioned that verse Sarvasya Chaham Hridisan Vanishto Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. So developing a relationship with Paramatma is not something different than developing a relationship with Krishna in a way. By the practice of bhakti, we are actually making the Paramatma even more active in our life. Krishna acts in wonderful ways, uh, both internally and externally. Like we see, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, or the next verse, Tesham Evanu Kampartam Aham Agyana Jamtama Nashayami Atma Bhavasto Jnana Deepena Bhasvata. So Krishna acts both internally as well as externally when he sees that a devotee is sincerely trying to practice bhakti. So we are in a very fortunate situation that we don't have to separately endeavor for establishing a relationship with Paramatma. Just by practicing bhakti, we are actually doing those things, doing that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to see you again, Haribol. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, so this is a great topic, right? I think it is in the ninth chapter only Lord Krishna is saying he's present in this world in avyakta form, impersonal form, right?
Mm.
And then that topic starts in the ninth chapter, and it sort of, in the 11th chapter, it's the climax, right?
Right.
With so many things. And then finally, Arjun asks that you are everywhere, you are everything, but how can I? And then he shows, how are you everywhere? Then he shows his form, right?
Mm.
Then Arjuna is asking, who are you? And then he gives a very direct answer that how is he present in the impersonal form in this world? Is saying a very direct answer there, Lord Krishna, that I am time.
Mm.
Through time, everything in this world is happening because of time factor, and I am that time, basically. So if people who realize that this time is Krishna in everything, they are, they connect to the Paramatma outside and Paramatma inside. But the people who don't, that same time comes at the end,
Mm.
right? Which Lord is showing basically in his fire coming out from his mouth, is showing that all the, the Bhishma, Drona, everyone, going inside the mouth, like the grip
Yes.
of death. Time is acting like a grip of death, basically, for them.
Yes.
Those who don't realize that, all these things, what you're saying, it is not Krishna for them. Krishna comes at death, basically.
Yes, Prabhu.
It is better to realize. I think someone has a comment, I think, in the chat. Okay, no. Sefali Mataji is saying, I think, thank you for wonderful session. She's saying.
Thank you for your kind attention, Shivani Mataji.
Yeah.
Yes. Prabhu, is it possible to change the title now, or is it?
No, now it is difficult
Okay.
because
Okay.
it has already gone to Facebook, YouTube. I will ask, I will ask, what's his name? Ramanand Sakha Prabhu, if it can be done. Why don't you just put in the chat what you want the title to be? I will ask, I will explore with him if it can be changed, but I doubt very much, but I will ask him.
Sure. Yeah. Fearlessness, that is.
Developing fearlessness by seeing Krishna everywhere. Developing...
Do you have any corrections or anything for me, Prabhuji?
No, Prabhu, this is a one. Actually, I sometimes I like your lecture, the way you deliver. Like you take one verse and then you go, you explain that you read the purport and then go to Bhagavatam and different scriptures, and then you bring lot of uh, which makes your lecture very interesting is you bring lot of what is that called? The incidents from Prabhupada's life. Because Prabhupada, if you look at right, he was a very attractive character. Attractive
Mm.
means very, he had that attraction because he always remembered Krishna. So that Krishna, the name of Krishna is all attractive, right? So Srila
Mm.
Prabhupada was, although he used to, sometimes chastise someone, in that also there was, his personality was very attractive.
Right.
And when you bring those, his, whatever was happening in his life, how he's interacting with the disciples, like those two examples, like, right? One is that beautiful air hostess, and then, in the France, he was being shown that picture of a woman, right? And he says like, nicely done, right? To the
Mm.
artist and he sees Krishna's ability flowing through them, right?
Right.
It's, I mean, a typical, dharma gurus and all, they will get disgusted basically. But
Yeah.
he see Krishna there also. That is, I mean, these are the things basically. What you bring from Prabhupada's life that makes your lecture very, very lively, I would say. So,
Thank you, Prabhu, for your
thank you.
kind encouragement.
I agree, Prabhu. I really like your lectures as well. I always, there's the busy times, but when I see Madhava Govinda Prabhu giving lecture, I want to make it. It's get a little bit late in Toronto, but it's so wonderful. And uh, definitely, when you given as an example of Srila Prabhupada lectures, I remember someone is asking Srila Prabhupada, "Oh, you guys worshiping a deity, how it could be connected to the Krishna?" And Prabhupada give example, like a practical example about post box. Yeah, he said, "Well,
Mm.
if somebody put the box, would you put your letter there?" And definitely, you looking for the post box. So when you put your letter in the post box, it's gonna get to your destination. Same as the DDs, they installed and use proper installation from the Shastras. So
Correct.
it makes like sometimes people say, "Oh, you guys, just worshiping idols," yeah,
Mhm.
and especially other congregations, and this is the good example. You can defeat your beliefs and say, well, when you ask something, must be proper chain of command, and that's why everything makes sense in that perspective. When Srila Prabhupada just give explanation, same as you mentioned, it's so nice and understandable. So it's actually going out there for different audience, and you don't have to be, you know, it's good that you don't have to have that extreme knowledge in the Vedic scriptures to understand. And I think this is the gift of Srila Prabhupada. Give
Yeah,
it on a way that everybody can understand, man.
very simple, very simple.
Yes. Thank you,
And that is
Prabhu.
a great example.
Yeah,
Radhika Rasika Prabhu, yeah, that post box example
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Prabhu, it's 8:30 now.
8:30, 8:31. So we can close now.
Yes. Thank you, Manish Rawat ji, Prabhuji, and Shefali Mataji, and Radhika Rasika Prabhu, and
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, and obviously Ashram Madhav Prabhu for tolerating me.
You are a wonderful preacher.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for being there.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhya.
Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhyo cha
Gitanam
Titanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
माधव गोविंद प्रभु की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय,
Prabhupada ki jai.
गौर भक्त
Hey,
वृंद।
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, devotees. Thank you for joining the session. We will now close the Wednesday session. Thank you. Hari Bol.